This is Experience Imagination, a themed entertainment podcast by Falcons Creative Group.
Story connects people to the experience.
Every aspect of creativity is brought together.
We wanted to do something different and fresh.
There are so many different disciplines that are involved in this industry.
Nothing will get you further than your passion.
This entire process is just making us better designers.
We're really pushing the envelope.
Welcome back to Experience Imagination. I'm Audrey DeLong. I'm going to give you a little peek behind the curtain here at Falcons. Each month, the podcast team gets together to discuss our next episode. What's the topic? Who should we talk to? That kind of thing. So when we met about August's episode, we must have been hungry because we kept circling back to the subject of food and Visit Orlando's Magical Dining. Now, if you're not familiar with that, it's a citywide event featuring more than 100 Central Florida restaurants that offer a 3-course meal at a set price. This year, which is season number 19, a record-breaking 150 Orlando area restaurants are participating, including 9 Michelin Guide honorees and dozens of first-timers. That's really exciting. So this year's event runs from mid-August to the end of September, and probably my favorite part is a portion of the proceeds benefit local nonprofits that are focused on building a sustainable future. Now, you might be wondering what restaurants and themed entertainment have in common, but it's more about how they intersect. It's a fusion that started a while ago. Think Planet Hollywood, or Hard Rock Cafe, NASCAR Cafe, Motown Cafe, and a slew of others that may or may not have the word cafe in them. But anyway, lately, the concept of an immersive dining experience has shifted, and the creativity quotient has grown exponentially. Some people might call them themed restaurants or experiential dining, but the bottom line is there are opportunities galore to delight more than just a guest's palate. So, in a nutshell, that's our conversation today. And yes, there are more bad puns coming. Don't say I didn't warn you. We're going to spread this discussion over 2 panels that will dip into all the delicious details of these atypical dining experiences. Plus, we'll give you the scoop on 2 Thea Award-winning destinations, Etrenolin in Germany and Absurdities Volume 1 in Singapore. My guests are Matthew Cross and Larry Wittenberg from OE Experiences, and 2 of our Falcons design veterans, Joe Schaefer and Eric Laparena. Believe me, you won't want to miss any of these tasty morsels. Well, we are back, and we're excited to welcome my first 2 guests. Matthew Cross is founding partner and CEO of the financial consulting and business development firm OE Experiences. He's also the Eastern North American Division Board President of the Themed Entertainment Association and a Blue Loop Top 50 Global Theme Park Influencer. Hi, Matthew.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. And we have Larry Wittenberg, who is a heavy hitter in the entertainment and sports food service space. He's currently an operations consultant for OE Experiences. And he's worked for Delaware North, Six Flags, Universal Studios, Madison Square Garden, just to name a few. Hey there, Larry.
Hey, good morning or good afternoon your time.
Yes, good to have you. I want to start with your company, Matthew, which specializes in the experience economy. We've heard that term before. You say you bring financing and design together, and your involvement extends through opening and operation. So what's made your business so successful in the short time that it's existed, especially because you started it in March of 2020, and we all know what was happening then?
Yeah, I guess I get top marks for timing.
Yeah, really.
Truth be told, I think a large part of our success is because we're addressing a need that we validated exists. COVID was a period of a lot of entrepreneurial thinking with maker companies wanting to participate in capital stacks to trade services for ownership. We continue to see the innovation of theme park technologies, ride systems, skill sets moving downstream into retail applications. We saw IP companies continue to get more aggressive and entrepreneurial in how they interacted with projects. It's no longer, I'll take X and then collect Y over the life of your project. You have 5 years to figure it out. That passive sort of model has really been replaced with a lot more aggressive models of IP companies being owners or being guarantors or all kinds of really interesting. So with all of that change and all that chaos, comes a need for expertise, which is the expertise we provide. And so we helped ask those correct questions and built an incredible team. Sam Russo joined us, and of course, Larry here, the heavy hitter.
That's right.
Heavy for sure.
So I want to get your perspectives on immersive dining, especially in today's world. How do you define it? Let's start with you, Matthew.
A lot of these words can be buzzwords, right? And there's no general policing of what these terms represent. For me, I think immersive dining, it needs to be a rich experience. There needs to be a pleasing atmosphere. There's an expectation of quality. And this is something we see in other sectors as well. But consumers today expect there to always be quality at every price point. It doesn't matter if it's a cheap experience, they still want quality. Where they want to see the value is in its implementation, or maybe its depth, or if it's program. But you can't have immersive dining with bad food. It sounds so obvious. And this is where I'll take off my professional hat and just say, as a person, I really like it when the sound is very deliberately controlled so that I can still have my social experience. Because pulsing the entertainment with the cool down of what just happened and let's talk, I think is important. Because I think being with the crowd, being with your friends and family, that helps you achieve that sense of immersion. You're on a journey with someone, not by yourself.
That's very true. When you said sound, Rick's ears just perked up, our audio director.
Great job, Rick.
All right, Larry, let's get your take on it.
I think that one of the great things about food that separates it from many kind of experiences, you use senses, you use your taste buds as well as your smell, as well as your sights in the most intimate of ways. And so quality is absolutely crucial, but visually exciting is important as well. And it has to smell great, right? And obviously price value. There's an immediate reflection on what you spent versus what you got immediately, right in the moment. And so that in a thematically integrated environment where the atmosphere is wonderful, where it's taking you on a ride, where it is Instagrammable, all of those things are super important. And specifically within the theme park and themed dining space, that you are having an experience of food, but you're having an experience way beyond your typical restaurant.
Okay. Larry, again, going back to what Matthew was saying, are there any other ingredients that they have to succeed?
Well, we didn't touch on service, but service is a product as well. And in order to have a great experience, you have to feel warmed, welcomed, invited, and all of your needs are to be taken care of. And so when we talk about environments and so forth, we have to execute in the field. And in the field, there has to be great leadership and great standards set in order for somebody to have that warm and welcome feel. And without that human interaction part, it's not the total experience that you will get when you actually have really great quality guest service.
I would add to that, when we talk about immersive dining, it's food and beverage. So having a great mixology cocktail menu. Now mocktails are increasingly popular. People wanting to have that same show on the table. So activations are critical. The idea that a special order will activate an area. And this can be, in the tiki bar example, a signature cocktail that triggers a lighting effect. Or it could be, if you go more straight dining, it's just these tableside services and cutting the food and preparing it flambe style. That generates an excitement. It connects the venue, and I think it triggers that sense of, well, I want to do that, and I'm having a special night, that's why I'm here, so I want to add on. And there's a business case, obviously, for that, but also tremendous value. And then the last is, I think, artifacts. Everyone loves to have a keepsake of a great experience. If it was transformational is what we're going for, and they had something that profoundly affected them, they want to buy something to have it sit where they can see it. Maybe it's on their desk at their office, or maybe it's at home, and they're desperate for someone to say, what's that? So they get to relive it. It's a free memory. And I think that is critical.
Yeah. I do want Larry to touch on this because from a business sense, owners and operators have to be thinking about merchandise when they're designing these experiences in the early planning phases. So, Larry, you have a lot of experience in this area. I know. I'll start with you. What can you tell us about the thought process behind that element?
We start out with saying, what kind of products can we put in there that are going to give you that experience? And it's a big part of the profit and loss statement. And we build it into the pro forma. So it is drinkware, whether it's a souvenir cup with a funny straw, or whether it's a crystal with a gold emblem on the bottom that says Orient Express, and it's very high end. That makes it super special. That also allows us to establish premium pricing on those items.
Because they feel like maybe they can't get that product anywhere else, right?
Yeah, this is not Amazon or Temu or Walmart.
These special moments are Instagrammable. I didn't even know that was a word until recently, but I can imagine executives during the planning phase of these immersive dining experiences asking, like, somebody sitting at the table saying, that's a great concept, but is it Instagrammable? Do these conversations actually happen, or is that just in my mind?
They absolutely happen. For some concepts we've worked on, getting the word out is critical. And the marketing strategy for these concepts as they open, a lot of times the ramp up is about creating intrigue. You're not actually giving a lot away because you expect that once you're open, everyone's going to be showing everything anyway. So you don't want to do that for them. And you really want, as Larry said, for someone to say, why am I not there right now? I want to go do that. I want to see that. So those hero shots and those moments where someone's going to get that picture that will show up on everybody's feed and demand an investigation and a click, that's incredibly important.
It's foundationally important in today's world. I know that for myself, my wife and I, we check Instagram before we go out to dinner. We want to be able to see, and downtown LA has a tremendous amount of really fun places to go to. I would never have known that unless I went on to, I could go Google and I can go Yelp, but I can really get somebody telling me what it really is like in the moment. And so everything should be designed with Instagrammable moments in mind. Certainly from a business perspective, I want to be able to go ahead and get the word out, and I don't want to have to pay for it either.
Exactly.
My gosh, it's free marketing that I could never recreate any other way.
Yeah, it's authentic, and that's what people want now. So I want to talk about two of the more fascinating immersive dining experiences that have been introduced recently, and I touched on them in the intro. Eatrealin, if I'm pronouncing that right, Eatrealin in Germany and Absurdities Volume 1 in Singapore. They're both TEA Thea Award winners for outstanding achievement. So Matthew, you had a chance to visit Eatrealin, so tell us all about it. Don't leave anything out, please.
Well, I'll give out the spoiler alert if you care about such things, because a big part of the enjoyment is the surprise of the story. But it's a very intimate, I think 16 guests at a time, multi-room dining experience on their autonomous vehicles. I wanted to go see it because nothing about what I just said made any sense to me or how they could possibly be profitable. Just from a business standpoint, I was fascinated. Are they mad scientists or are they onto something? It starts, I almost want to say very spiritually, very minimalist. You're assigned your chair. There's very little talking. It frames you. And then you realize you're being hosted by an AI. It's very in vogue right now. And this AI is trying to learn taste through you. So it exposes you to the 4 flavor profiles. And that's the first couple of rooms. And then it doesn't get it yet. It doesn't understand what it is to be human or what taste really is. So it says we have to go further. We're going to go to the Far East and we're going to try umami as the 5th flavor profile. And it still doesn't get it. So now we're going to go into space and we're going to find new bizarre flavors, and I'll get it eventually. And this is definitely your theme park moment. This was the ride vehicle demo because we get in a little elevator and it shakes and it helps you digest the food you've already eaten.
A shaking elevator does?
Yes.
We'll go with that.
Yeah. And then it opens up into this vista of seeing the Earth from space, and the AI goes rogue because there's a meteor shower. and your mission controls, we got to go home. And it's like, nope, we're doing this. They'll be fine. I have to understand what it is to be human. So there's a little drama. You get your final main course, and you think it's all over. You go into a plain white room where the AI is finally able to take human form. And so they projection map onto a woman's body who steps out of the wall, and then out of surprise in the ceiling comes your final dessert menu. And it's a heck of a climax. It was all any of us could talk about. And I was there with SATE Europe at Europa Park, a discriminating crowd, I'll say, and everyone was incredibly blown away. I admire the Mott family for their, not just their ingenuity, but their gumption. I love that about them. We have this crazy, bold idea, and we're going to do it. And we'll figure some stuff out as we go, obviously, but I really admire that about them.
I love it so much. That is so original. So I do want to talk about the other one I mentioned, Absurdities Volume 1. As a member of TEA's board of directors, Matthew, tell us what the association looks for when awarding outstanding achievement in the immersive dining experience category. So as the follow-up to that, what makes something like Absurdities Volume 1 stand apart?
It's a great question. So I haven't served on the THEA selection committee, but I have obviously received their reports. And what I appreciate about them is how deliberate they are. You know, the word they use is illuminate. They illuminate quality. So it's not, this is the best. There is excellence here that deserves attention. There are a lot of people with great ideas, but great ideas that are well executed, that are financially sustainable, that are creatively unique, that's what's rare. And that's what the THEAs really do. They find these things that deserve illumination and study. And I think Absurdities, a big part of that is the physical play. It's whimsical. You're moving through these spaces, engaging in a really unique way with the environment. It's very tactile. You feel it, you walk through it, you crawl through it. And again, the food is great in a city associated with great night market food and unique dining opportunities.
Yeah. I want to switch gears to talk about specifically theme park restaurants. Larry, you have a big background in this. You were director of food service development for Universal Studios Islands of Adventure during the park's planning phase in the mid-90s. So you had a hand in a lot of their restaurants, I'm guessing, including Mythos. Theme Park Insider named it the #1 theme park restaurant in the world on multiple occasions. So tell us about the journey from blank page to opening the doors of a place like Mythos, and why is that restaurant so highly regarded?
First of all, it was a fabulous experience. Universal Islands of Adventure has 27 food facilities in it, and the initial reason that I was brought in was, we're going to make this the best theme park food service experience in the world. This will be first class. And so Mythos started out as the creative team saying, we want to build an icon for the park. So they decided, we want to have something so dynamic and so big. And so you have this giant mythical place called Mythos, this giant rock work right on the water, seen from all over the park. And then when you're right up in front of it, it's breathtaking. And then you walk on inside, and you're not in a dining room. You're inside of a giant rock structure. And you don't know exactly where you are, but you know that it has myths and legends and magic. And that worked really well. So what the crucial thing is, which one of the reasons working with OE is so wonderful, is the understanding and the respect that this is a business. This is a food service operating business. This has to be profitable. This has to deliver all of the great environment, all of the great service, great product, but it's not an open-ended budget. So we profiled what this space was going to be, the style of service that it was going to be. But we also designed it so it is flexible, because every day the guest does tell us what they think of our operation by what they buy, right? And so we have to be able to react to that. Mythos is 25 years old, and it's still winning the best theme park in the industry award. Now, why is that? It's because we built something that is flexible and timeless. When you look inside of the open hearth, brick-fired pizza oven, wrapped around the flames that are coming out is a giant face that looks like some mythical serpent that is fire-breathing dragon. That still works after 25 years as an experience. And so food service planning was done, the table layouts, the spacing, all of the needed services, front of house and back of house. And then the creative team layered their magic on top of the business. And I think that's the crucial thing. The business was able to be solid in its planning, and then the creative team took it and ran with it. And every step of the way, we were joined at the hip.
It sounds like you could write a whole book just on Mythos.
Yeah.
One last question for you, Larry, is about your IAPA Edu session. It's called It's All About the Menu. So you created that session and then you spoke at it. So I'm wondering, what words of wisdom did you dish out? And as a follow-up for you and Matthew, how important is the food at an immersive dining experience? It has to be good, but like, how important is everything else about it? Presentation, the service related to it. Talk to us about that.
The Edu session was geared towards theme park operators. I remember telling them in the beginning, you make money by what you don't sell. And everybody like, what is this crazy guy? What is he talking about? Yeah. Right? If you don't sell it, how are you going to make any money? Well, the point is that in a theme park, in most cases, if they don't eat at your restaurant here, they're going to eat at the other one. Oh, by the way, I own that one too. And I own that one too. So you're going to get them, right? What you want to do is make sure that your operation is as efficient as possible and as profitable as possible. And part of that is you don't put 20 things on the menu. You just go for the top of the bell curve. It has to be popular. People have to be buying it. And if not, get it off your menu. That's how you make money, by what you don't sell. Mm-hmm. Take the things that are dead weight and start there. Every day, a guest tells you by what they bought, what they think of your marketing strategy, because that's what it is. This is what you're putting in front of them. And they can't try it on in advance. And the menu is what they see. And in a case of theme park menus, people do buy with their eyes. So visual representations are extremely crucial, I think, in fast food, for instance, in theme parks. But certainly food service menu planning is a science. And pay attention to what they tell you. And if you're not paying attention to what they're telling you every day and be able to react to it, change your menu, do whatever you need to do. If you're not able to do that, shame on you. Really.
Yeah, it's probably really tough to even hire the servers in these places, because you're looking for somebody who has the right personality for that theming. Maybe a little bit of acting ability, right?
Yeah. So we study dinner shows. So here in Tennessee, we have a group of dinner shows, all owned by a common group. Dolly Stampede, Hatfield McCoy's Pirates. And so that was our home market. So that was our paradigm. And then we went to Puy du Fou and we saw their dinner show in their theme park. And it's extremely different. In France, their waiters and waitresses are also performers. So they're dancing, they're in character, and then they integrate the plating of the food into the show. Whereas the ones here in Tennessee, they're separate people. You've got performers on stage, and then you've got basically food service and help in the audience. We talk a lot about that because your coincidence of wants of your ideal candidate goes up dramatically when it's, I need someone that can be in character, perform, act, whatever, and deal with serving people food and getting drink refills. And those could be two different career points. Those are different mindsets. So we usually talk about splitting those things up so that it's easier. So you're looking for one type for this role and another type for another. But I think the higher the quality, the price point, if you're going more for margin instead of volume, you can get away with integrating those roles a lot better because you've got a little bit of cushion to do it.
Right. One of the interesting food experiences I read about when I was researching this was, I think it's in Japan, where, I mean, they're such a proper country. They're known for politeness, and a restaurateur had the idea that all of the servers would be rude just because people aren't used to that. And it would shock consumers and people just going out for a meal. Of course, it's well known that it's a gag,
Right.
but it's hilarious to see the videos of these servers just throwing the food at the
Right.
person, and the person's laughing and they've got their phone. It's so funny. And then they're posting it on Instagram. So obviously there's your authentic marketing right there. But I'm sure there are a lot of experiences like this and they're catching on.
Yeah, we've got Dick's Last Resort does a similar sort of shtick as a bar. It's fun, right? It's a change of pace. It goes back to that flavor comment. If that's what you're looking for, knowing that you can go have that experience, it's worth something. It has value.
Well, if you've been to Katz's Deli or Sammy's Romanian Steakhouse in New York, you'll have some of those experiences that if you don't tip the guy who's carving your pastrami or roast beef, you're not getting any meat on your sandwich.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Well, that kind of wraps up this conversation, guys. I mean, I really appreciate your input. It was a lot of fun.
Likewise, thank you for having us. It was fun.
Thank you.
All right, we're back now with two of my colleagues, Joe Schaefer, Vice President of Technical Design, and Eric Laparena, Design Director. Hello, guys. Hey, Eric.
Hi, how you doing, Audrey? Nice to see you.
Good. Welcome back. And Joe, too.
Thanks for having me back.
All right, so first of all, I want to ask you both, as designers, when you visit a themed restaurant, are you noticing things they've done well or can do better, or do you shut your brain off entirely and just enjoy it?
So I have a rule about this. It's my view of themed entertainment. And I think that when you experience something new for the first time, a new attraction, a new restaurant, a new anything in a park as a designer, I always say that I can set my brain into two modes, exactly like you just mentioned. But I make a point to always turn the thinking part of my brain off the first time I ever see anything. Let it exist in its entirety as it was meant to be by the designers. The second time I go and view something, I immediately start scrutinizing every facet of everything about it because now I've already gone through the gambit there. With restaurants, it's a little bit different. I'm not there for 3 minutes. I have time to suddenly, okay, take it all in. Okay, now I've had a few minutes to be in the environment and then get the feeling that I'm supposed to have. Now I can start to slowly dissect what's here and how everything's set up.
For me, it's a bit more organic, I think, the first time around, because if a place is really immersive, I just want to enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
But if it's not properly executed, that's when I start to nitpick and I start to see, and I point out the faults. And it's just you can't help it. It's that creative side that kind of kicks in, and the designer brain kicks in. But if I'm not looking and I'm just enjoying the environment, obviously there's something that's well executed with the space.
You're developing a more intimate experience with the guest. You have them for a much longer period of time. You have a lot of time to dedicate to storytelling and making them feel like they're a part of the environment.
So silverware, plates, even the bathrooms. Is this something we think about ahead of time when we're designing?
Oh, absolutely. It's an immersive experience. When you're dealing with theme park design in any facet, you're creating a world for guests to lose themselves in. And same goes for F&B and retail. I think that you want to maintain that connection when guests are walking through a park, whether they're walking through the area development or they're going through an attraction. You go into another space, you still want to feel in world. I think here at Falcons, we're very big on creating immersive experiences. And that's the first step in completing a holistic design, I think, is making sure everything is symbiotic, outside, inside, wherever you're at in the park.
All right. I want to talk about IMG Worlds of Adventure. This is a huge indoor theme park in Dubai that Falcon's master plan had a lot of scope for. It features very popular intellectual properties from Marvel and Cartoon Network. And so part of our scope was designing and art directing a smorgasbord of themed restaurants and food carts. You like that one?
Yeah.
So we also served as creative guardian. And I'm wondering how the process worked with the various IP holders from Marvel and Cartoon Network. Did they have ideas for what they wanted? Was it Falcons whipping up something from scratch?
This project's really special to the two people here because this is the project Eric and I met on.
Oh.
So this is, we literally met each other and started working together on this project.
Yep.
And now he won't leave. But
I've
made
been
a
trying
good
to push him out
impression.
forever, but he just won't leave either.
that's it. Yeah, I know. So I love this project. It was amazing getting to work with these huge IPs, with Marvel, with Cartoon Network. These are IPs that I grew up with and people that I know. Everyone knows these guys. So they were fantastic in that they gave us a breadth of space to be able to design things as we needed to as F&B designers, as experienced designers, but also came in with their own set of guardrails to say, hey, we want to make sure we're keeping to this style and we're using these characters. And I think one of my favorites was in Marvel, being able to use Chang's and Mamascanos of Yancey Street, which are pulled directly from the comic books. So how do we bring those into the real world? And so you oftentimes can't make things exactly one-to-one, so it becomes a partnership where we need to be working directly with Marvel to make sure that we're still upholding the original intent of that unit while still making sure that operations, kitchen space, things like you never see on a page exist and function.
For me, I was the same way as Joe. With Marvel, I'm a super Marvel fan. So it's one of the reasons why I took on the job when I found out what the actual project would entail. So digging as much information up as you can, then sharing ideas with IP. Also getting from them understanding what is canon, what can you work with, what can't you work with. A lot of these IPs have multiple media sources, and some stuff is contracted out by other people. Some things you can do, sometimes you can't do things. So understanding what world you're able to work within, and then massaging a story and kind of developing something that ties into F&B and retail. Sometimes it's in your face. It's like something that's right from a story, right from a comic, right
Daily
from something.
Bugle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Where you could just, okay, well, that's it. We know what it is. Other times it's like, okay, look, we want to use this IP, we want to use this character, but how can we justify a restaurant? But it's always fun, and you come up with a clever way of doing this, and if the IP is on board, it's a great moment. So
I think a great example of that last point, Eric, is Everything Burrito, where it's a well-known food stuff from Adventure Time. There isn't a restaurant about it. There isn't anything that exists, but it's one of the most well-known Adventure Time foods next to bacon pancakes that has ever existed. So how do we make a restaurant around this thing, and how do we implement character and feeling to something that doesn't exist in the world, unlike Mamascanos, which has a direct reference that we can pull from. How do we make something new and exciting that is based on just an element?
You're talking about Finn and Jake's Everything Burrito at IMG.
That's correct.
So there's a lot of episodes of Adventure Time to draw from, though. So the aesthetics are there. You know, that kind of thing comes into play, obviously, right, when you're designing?
Yeah, it's really funny because when you're looking at something like Finn and Jake, that whole world is very 2D flat animation. So to bring that to real life, you look at sometimes you're taking things from cinema or you're taking things from universe that feels very realistic. It's one thing, but that flat world, I mean, color choices were important. Also, how does that color applied? I mean, you're talking about flat 2D elements that you're supposed to bring to life. So we had a great time with that one.
That brought up a great point on my end, Eric, where there was such a deviation between Marvel and Cartoon Network. And it's because Marvel could be, yes, we were using the comic book style characters, but it was this blend of it's supposed to be set in the real world. And so when we introduce things like streetlights and paving and walkways and things like that, we can use real world materials and they're believed to be a part of it, regardless of the fact that they're not stylized exactly the same. It's because it's based in the same reality. The minute you introduce something like Richard's Around the World Cafe or Finn and Jake's Everything Burrito, the game changes because now it's not based in the real world. Now it isn't based on reality. And so you do exactly like you're saying. It's almost cell shaded. The shadows have personalities. And so you have to be very careful about how we use color and how we use finishes and how we use materiality to try and mimic something that isn't real using real materials.
I see. There's a lot that goes into this.
Yeah, it is.
Speaking of a lot, we're working on the Dragon Ball theme park. I know we can't talk specifics yet, but anything that you can give us, please.
The approach for this park is it's extremely immersive. The IP owners were very insistent on it being an experience where you go into this world. So some of these F&B locations are really in the IP that come to life in this park. So this is going to be a theme park that's so immersive in so many levels.
I remember when I was a kid watching the show, I thought it was hilarious how much food they would eat. It would just be plates stacked taller than they were with how much they were eating. And so it's trying to bring that idea of whimsy and excitement and fun that the Dragon Ball IP embodies into the real world.
Also just views of the park from different areas based on IPs and characters. It just, you could sit and enjoy, a nice meal with a breathtaking view of the park from some of these locations. It adds to the immersion and adds to the feeling of, wow, I'm really here.
Well, that works for me. All right. Thanks, Joe, for being with us.
Always happy to join you.
All right, Eric, thanks again.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure, Audrey.
That wraps up this episode about themed dining experiences. I know we gave you a lot to digest, I invite you to share your own personal experiences with themed dining with us, and we might feature your story on a future episode. I want to give a special thanks to all of our guests, Matthew Cross and Larry Wittenberg from OE Experiences, as well as my colleagues Joe Schaefer and Eric Laparena. To learn more about Visit Orlando's Magical Dining event and make a reservation, go to magicaldining.com. Thanks for listening, happy eating, and we'll see you next month. Thank you for listening to Experience Imagination, a Falcons Creative Group production. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast. Be sure to check out falconscreativegroup.com and follow us on Instagram, X, Facebook, and LinkedIn. If you have ideas for future episodes or just want to drop us a message, send an email to podcast@falconscreativegroup.com.